Oops.
There's no countdown on that Facebook thingamajigger.
I thought there was. It plans to go live in 3 minutes, but that was 3 minutes ago. So here we go. Welcome to the Lift Heavy Run Log podcast, episode number 74 with Kevin Leathers. You can find us at www.liftheavyrunlong.com, on Twitter and Instagram at liftrunlong. Also, feel free to email me directly at the address wilson@liftheavyrunlong.com. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us a 5-star review on iTunes. If you are not a member of our private Facebook group, you should be because we want you to be there. Search for Lift Heavy Run Long Community and request to join right now. I made it through that, a little bit out of breath.
Did you even take a breath? You just did it all in one breath, didn't
I think I kind of did, and now I'm like, ugh. My name's Wilson Horrell. I am your host, and I am definitely glad to be here. I'm especially glad to be sitting next to our wonderful dog, Charlie, who is chilling with us. Charlie's had a long day. We have people remodeling our kitchen, and so he's a little off kilter, as we all are. But
Yes.
even better than that, I'm happy to be sitting next to my ragingly smoking hot and highly intelligent wife, the lovely Dr. Amanda Kimsey Horrell, also known as Jack and Tan.
Good afternoon or evening.
How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
How you feeling after the race?
Rough.
You went to CrossFit today, though.
I did. I had to do something. It just would get worse and worse and worse. all in all, I'd say I'm feeling pretty good under the circumstances. But you know, I don't put out like y'all people do.
Y'all people.
I don't put as much like oomph into it to hurt the way that y'all people hurt. I just hurt kind of by nature. I'm a herder. How are you feeling?
I'm great.
You've been great since we
recovered.
got off the trail.
Well, it was amazing. I think just the overall training and stuff made me feel better. I never hobbled, thank God. I was still walking normal and a little sore in the legs for about a day and a half. And that was it.
That's about your max. Day and a half is max soreness for you.
Well, last 50 miler we did, I was hobbling for probably 3 or 4 days, not being able to take normal steps. So
I'm
this
still
is-
hobbling from the last 50 miler. I have not had a day and a half where I have not been sore, but it doesn't really seem to matter whether I work out or not. I'm just sore all the time.
Is it like a phantom soreness, or is it
Most
like a regular-
always, yeah. I was born with phantom soreness. That's part of being.
Is it genetic?
It's a drama queen thing. It's like I'm always ballooning something up.
I have to compound you some phantom pills.
Well,
for
you know,
your-
I'd take them. I would love some phantom pills, some mystery pills. Just bring me
You may
whatever.
be onto something there.
Yeah, and they'd be, prescribed by a doctor. So it would be cool. Wouldn't affect my
I gotta
sobriety.
say the 49th mile in 45 minutes. I've been giggling about that ever since you sent that picture to me.
Man, that was so bad that every step was such an investment that there were steps that I went backwards. Like I was like, oh, and then I'd get going forward and I'd be like, oh, like you're falling off a bar stool, like, oh God. And I'd go backwards and I'm like, that means I got to do that again to make up for that step. 48 minutes is what my 48 to 49 mile was.
You got your money's worth.
And I would put my hands on my knees and I would think, I'm going to black out or fall asleep. Like I'm going to fall asleep and I'm going to wake up on a gurney and I'm going to be 1.5 miles from the finish line. This is going to really suck.
Did you try to crawl?
No, I never tried to crawl.
See, I didn't either this time.
I can tell you that I felt like your crawling 2 years ago was less ridiculous
Thank you.
this year because it made sense to me.
You're pretty angry at me the last time I tried to crawl.
I was pretty angry at a lot of things at about
Get up.
mile 47 2 years ago.
I really thought I was dying.
I was also trying to cruise through there at about 260 as well, which wasn't any fun. It's not fun to do it at 220 either. But next to Dr. Horrell, we have Kevin Leathers.
Yes, sir.
Can't Stop Endurance. How are you, sir?
I'm excellent.
Man, I appreciate you taking the time to come out here and be on the show.
It's my pleasure.
It's been nice getting to know you so far. I found out that you're a 1982 Germantown Red Devil,
Way back when.
way back when. Kind enough to take note of the football picture,
Right.
to
Oh, yeah.
talk to me about
Number
his
72.
alumni status, to ask about the highlight film.
Yeah.
You know, he's got class.
He does.
It shows that the man went to a school like Germantown and he has class.
That's right.
And speaking of class, we have the Reverend Vaughn Rawls
Here I
sitting
am.
next to Mr. Leathers.
A dream come true.
How are things?
Oh, they could not be better.
They really couldn't.
No, they could not be better.
Why is that?
I ran 100 miles Saturday and Sunday, and I'm on that cloud 9 ever since then.
How long you think how long you think you'll stay up there? Any sign of coming down?
No sign here.
That's a cloud. That's a cloud for life right there.
Yeah. I feel like this is this is a life-changing deal. So, I'm pretty stoked, in a way that I've never been before.
Yeah, I would think that would be dramatically life-changing, like drastically life-changing. I can say that when I was doing my 50 miles, it occurred, I was reflecting on my life and thinking about the last 50 miler and thinking about times that I've had in my life that were struggles. And I thought, I've had some really dark periods in my life and I didn't know there was a finish line. To run 50 miles and think, this sucks. This sucks really, really, really bad. There's a lot of things I'd rather be doing right now, but it's really just, it's an investment in time, and I will get to a finish line where there'll be food and there'll be people and there'll be happiness. But when you go through things in your life and you don't know that there's going to be that finish line, that's a hell of a lot worse than running 50 miles or whatever distance you have to go. And I think that's where it kind of changes you and plays into your day-to-day life.
Yeah, it's just so amazing to go into something that you have never done before, to not know that you're going to be up to halfway. I'm fine there. I've done that. I've done this before. It's going to be okay. I'll make it to 50. What happens after that is beyond me. I don't know what's going to happen. It's dark. I've already been up for 12 hours. We're about to do this thing for the rest of the night, and who knows? Let's go. And the thing was, my mood was so good that I was just like, I was pumped about it. I was like, I'm so excited about doing this. I'm about to do this all night long. I can't wait to see what happens. Because it's such an unknown. For me, it was. I don't know how it is for everybody, but it's just such an unknown thing. I didn't know what was going to happen, right? What to expect. It was, all I knew was just fuel and eat and try to move forward and experience it and enjoy everything that happens. And that's exactly what I did. And I just can't say enough good things about it. It was so much fun and such an amazing experience.
Was there any time between mile 1 and mile 50? Really what you were thinking after mile 50 is almost irrelevant because you're not thinking right to begin with. But between mile 1 and mile 50, was there a time where you thought this just isn't going to happen?
No, I felt incredible for the first 50. I felt better than I've ever felt for a 50-mile run.
You seem to be feeling that, but I didn't know
great.
if that was.
We had a really good pace.
show.
David Failing set that pace. It was four minutes of running, 2 minutes of walking.
That was a good pace.
I mean, we nailed that thing for, maybe 26 miles, and I felt like he was going. I felt like I was going too fast, so I was like, dude, take off. I'm just going to hang here and let you go. And but I kept that 4 minute 2-minute, like strict. Like if I felt good, fine, just walk. And I just kept on that. And I think that's what helped. You know, I wasn't trying to overdo it. I was trying to stay comfortable, you know, because it was like, I got to do this for 24 plus hours. So I felt like in my mind I had to throttle back as much as possible, enjoy everything around me, keep that 2-minute pace as long as possible. And that worked up till about 65 miles when my watch died. And I just ended up just counting in my head 60 seconds or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
Did you feel like a piece of you had died with your watch?
it was super scary, man. I don't want to take up all the time talking about this, but it was just super scary because it was in the middle of the night. Like, okay, I don't know what mile I'm on. I don't know
Oh, yeah.
where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah.
And people would pass me and they'd be like this couple passed me. And I was like, hey, you guys know what mile you're on? And the guy was like, oh, yeah, man, it's like 73. And I was like, well, that's not right because the aid station was 60, you know, the aid station was 69. And, you know, when we get to the next one, it's going to be, I know it's not 74. You got to be wrong. He was like, oh, well, my watch is dead. And I was like, okay.
The blind leading the blind.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I asked, 'cause mine's dead too. But it's just stuff like that, you know. it's
Listen,
just
son, I'm not
crazy.
here to argue with you. It's 3:00 in the morning. We've been running for. What difference does it make? Just keep going.
But that watch dying is not a bad thing
It's not. It's not.
because
Right.
you took all that drama out of it and just get to the next aid
Yeah.
station,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. You are absolutely right. Yeah.
Now you're into endurance races.
A little bit.
Have you done 100-milers?
I've done Leadville.
No kidding.
Wow.
I've done it once and then tried it a second time and didn't finish. I had to
Yeah.
drop out at Twin Lakes, like 55 miles.
Huh. So what did you do leading up to Leadville? Tell me about how you got into endurance racing.
Oh, gosh. Started back at Germantown High School.
Okay, let's just stop and stay there. Spend as much time on that as you'd like.
Kind of caught the bug there. Had played all sports and then got into high school and got into track and cross country and loved it from the first day. And that was my thing. Got into college, kept running, started triathlons in college, and just loved I say it all the time, I love the test of self. And when I was younger, it was, how fast can I go? How fast can I race a 5K? How fast can I do this triathlon? How fast can I do a 10K? Can I run a marathon? And then once you run a few marathons, well, how fast can I do a marathon? And can I qualify for Boston? And it's just an evolution. And then you get hooked on it. And then I got into my, into my mid-40s, and I had done all the big marathons and the triathlons and Ironman and all those things. Like, well, what's next? Well, it's ultras. So I had a few friends who were doing Swamp Stomper and Sillamore here locally. And so I started training for that because we all ran on the trails in the winter just to preserve your bodies and get out in the dirt, and loved it. And it was that was the next step of my endurance evolution was, okay, now I can do a 50K. How fast can I do a 50K? And then, well, gosh, now I have to do a 50 miler and do a couple of 50 miles. And then, of course, I think it was one of those first ultra marathon books by Dean Karnazes, Marathon Man or Ultra Marathon Man,
Ultra Marathon.
where he talks about Leadville and Born to Run. That's it. Born to Run talks a lot about Leadville. And I was like, oh, I've got to go do this. So just started training for it. And when I got there, it really felt like all roads had led to this point to go do this epic race in the Rocky Mountains. And that's
This
how I
would have
got
been
there.
your first 100-mile race.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you get it? Is there? You can't just sign up for that, can you? Is there a lottery or something?
Well,
Can you?
when I did it 6 years ago, it was first come, first serve. So
Okay.
they'd keep it open until it closed, and it didn't close as quickly as it closes now. Now it's so popular, they have a lottery, and you have to get in on time.
That seems insane. I was like, I want to do a flat 100-miler just to make sure I can.
Looking back, yeah. I think now I advise people, let's do a more manageable 100 to
Right.
find out what happens to you out there after
Yeah.
50 miles, because you really don't know. no matter what you do, no matter how hard you train, you get out there to 70 or 80 or 90 miles, and you really have no idea where your body and your mind's going to go. So something like Tunnel Hill or something a little without the altitude, yes, is right. Is it probably a smarter route? But we're not smart. Right? This is what in our little, it's really fun. I was talking to a friend the other day about our little endurance world that we all live in. And it's for Vaughn to sit here and talk about he just ran 100 miles. We're like, oh, yeah, of course you did. But outside this sphere, it's nuts.
Yeah.
People think we're insane. Right? So, yeah, I think we kind of dig that part of it.
I do, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's amazing. Like, the last few days, everybody I encounter is like,
awesome.
Can I just ask you a question or two about this? Like,
you can't fathom it. Yeah.
Another thing that I enjoy about it is it's so far out of the realm of most people's grasp. You don't have to be good at it in the least for people to respect what you do.
Right.
You know, if either you're an ultra runner and that stuff makes some kind of sense to you, and if you are an ultra runner, then by default, you really don't care about what most people's times are unless you're in the elite. And if you're outside of the ultra running world, you know, the difference in 16 hours or 6 hours or 20 hours really just doesn't mean anything because they're still trying to wrap their head around the distance.
No perspective.
Right.
Yep.
Correct. Yep. Did you find that going into the trail running world was a culture shock for you? Was it difficult to come off the roads?
No, I took to it. Well, I've been running the trails at Shelby Farm since high school. Back before it was called Shelby Farms, cross country, and then we'd run the Wolf River trails. And I guess like in the last 15 or 20 years, that in the winter we would just automatically run our long runs on the trail, on the Wolf River trails. And then when they built the Tour de Wolf, just to save a little wear and tear on our bodies and get off the roads. And even back when I was really training to run marathons at my peak, I would do a lot of my long runs on the trail just to prevent some of the wear and tear on my body.
Do you have a trail season that you, when you get, do you feel your body getting battered and say, I need to go into trail mode and take some time off?
I think most people feel it about now. And traditionally my season would be spring 5K season, summer triathlons, maybe a fall half or a full marathon, and then get on the trail about this time when marathon season was over. Run the trails all winter, do that Swamp Stomper, Sillamore season of ultras up through March or April when it starts to get hot again, and then cycle back through. So it was, things changed every few months. Yes, and it was a welcome relief to get on the trail at the end of all those hard road miles.
Well, once you got into Sillamore and Swamp Stomper and then accomplished the Leadville, that Leadville was how many years after you had done Sillamore?
It's probably a 3 or 4 year process.
So then how did things evolve after Leadville?
There was the next year, because when I went to Leadville, the cutoff is 30 hours for the belt buckle. And I had some issues on Hope Pass at 12,000 feet with the altitude, fueling, and then in the middle of the night got hypothermic because I wasn't dressed properly. So I finished Leadville in 30 hours and 5 minutes.
Oh, no.
Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Coming up over the hill into the last stretch, they shoot the shotgun. Like, So we chased it all night. So I forgot the finisher's medal and all of those things. But so there was that. It was in one moment the most exhilarating, amazing thing I'd ever done. I was overjoyed, yet just deep disappointment that I'd let the crew down. I'd let 5 minutes over 100 miles. So that gnawed at me. So I got to go back. So of course I trained the next year. Didn't train enough. Went out there. Deep down knew I wasn't prepared. And didn't make it. I missed the cutoff at mile 60. And then spent the next couple of years just got lack of focus and didn't lose the fire. Got a little burned out on it. And now it's just had a health scare a year and a half ago. Mm-hmm. where I got, and that woke me up again. That, oh, I had gotten lazy, and I had lost focus, and now I'm back on that focus and have big goals going forward.
Now, when you say you had gotten lazy, what I'm assuming your lazy and my lazy are probably two very different things.
Probably for the guy on the street, they would think I'm crazy to say I was lazy. I just wasn't focused. I was doing my workouts mostly. Wasn't doing all the prehab and the strength work and the things you need to do.
But you weren't 300 pounds and
No, I just
drunk
wasn't.
every night.
I wasn't as fast as I wanted to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So doing some quick math in my head, you were 3 seconds per mile slower than you needed to be at Leadville to 3 seconds
Yep.
per mile over 100 miles.
So to be in the middle of the night, well, to be on Hope Pass, which is this severe 3 miles up, super steep down, you turn around, you come back over it at mile 50.
Oh.
Thought I was going to die. I mean, it's that hard to go over Hope Pass at mile 50. Bonked because I couldn't eat going up. Go down, eat, come back, get back, and then revived at Twin Lakes, which is mile 55. Okay, we're going again. We're back on. And then sun goes down. It's been 70 degrees all day, sunny. You're in shorts and a t-shirt. Temperature starts to drop. Well, it's only going to be 48 tonight, so I'm going to put on my jacket and some gloves and a hat. Well, you've been running for 60 miles and you're in the Rockies, and you drop out onto the valley floor at about 65 miles, and the temperatures dropped, and I went hypothermic within a mile. It was just underdressed. Total mistake.
Wow. So
Went
what
from-
happens then?
I was frozen on the road. Not frozen. I was stopped on the road. Couldn't move. Locked up at mile 73. It's like I remember standing there shivering and couldn't move. And my crew came down from the aid station. It was half mile up the road.
When you say as a legitimate ultra runner that's 73 miles into a race and you say you're locked up, you mean you are absolutely seized. You can't
just couldn't move. Yeah.
Did you know what was going on, or were you just like, what the hell?
I knew I was cold. And I knew I couldn't move. And they came down the hill, and I remember at the time, I didn't say anything. I remember thinking in my head, well, so this is how it ends right here. I'm cold, and this is it. Well, they brought a jacket down to put a jacket on me, and they get me moving, and we walk up into the aid station. They sit me down to next to this huge heater, and my crew's there, and an old mentor friend of mine, Marshall Ulrich, who's won Badwater a few times and a legend, he was there overseeing, looking over the shoulders of my crew and just helping. And he walked over and he said, they're about to pull him because they see him shivering, and so you're going to miss the cutoff. So he reached down and picked me up and said, we're going. And I said, okay. And the next thing I know, I've got Brandon Wilmoth, my pacer at that point, and we're headed down the road. It's like, okay, So I went from this is how it ends, and I really couldn't tell you how long that took. I think it was probably 20 minutes to, we might pull this off. So now we're chasing that cutoff.
It's nice to have a guy like that that can see that and go, hey, you need to go.
Literally picked me up by my
Right.
jacket and said, we're leaving. It's like, okay. So then what seemed like we chased that cutoff for an hour was really 7 hours, 6 hours to get from there to the finish. And the realization probably set in about in the last 3 or 4 miles. I knew I was going as hard as I could go. And we made good time from the last aid station to the finish line, but time ran out, and it was rough.
Man.
What do you take from that when you're going through those times where you just can't move anymore, and then all of a sudden you can, and you look at it? I had a few moments where I just, got emotional. I stopped at the aid station. I had blisters on my feet. I wore new socks, and I ordered 3 pair of the same new socks that I've never worn before. This, more padded, blister-proof stuff, and it killed me. when I got to mile 25, I was almost in tears because my feet were hurting so bad. And I thought this was such a dumbass idea. I knew better than this. And I put on new shoes and it burned so much. I was like, I just can't take another step. I mean, I'm mortified. This is embarrassing.
Yep.
And then, the next thing I know, I feel beyond good, and I'm thinking, who do I thank for this? Like, what do I attribute this to? Like, this is the greatest, and then I'm off in this whole like deep life. Like, wow, I've been in some pretty bad places, and life just has a way of throwing you out of them and planting you wherever it plants you. I can only imagine that when you're on, mile 70, mile 80, mile 90 of these long races, do you feel that in a spiritual sense, or is that just, to you, is that just your goo kicking in?
There's so much mental involved in this that you can call it, some people say it's prayer, some people it's meditation, some people it's zoning out, some people it's a body-mind connection, whatever you want to call it. There is something there that takes over, where you're doing things that you can't fathom that you can do, or that you overcome things that you like, how in the world am I running now after what just happened? So call it what you want, but there's definitely something, there's a spirit involved, there's some emotion involved, and some mental durability that takes over at some point. It has to, because if you listen to your legs, you're going to be sitting on the side of the trail and quit every race you do. So
There's that pain cave you go into. Mm-hmm. I really think physically, after experiencing a certain level of pain for a certain amount of time, your body realizes you're not going to do anything about it, so it kind of just shuts off a little bit. Like in your brain, you just kind of shut that feeling off. And I mean, you're hurting, but you just kind of push through that and accept it.
I think there's a lot as well too. Well, my knee hurts. I'm going to think about my knee hurting I'm not going to think about anything else. Just my knee hurts. My knee hurts. My knee hurts. My knee hurts. And eventually it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because that's all you're thinking about is how bad your knee hurts, But if you say, okay, my knee hurts, let me think about what's going on out here. Oh, look at that. Let's talk to this guy with this random, I'm going to strike up a conversation with this person. And next thing you know, 2 miles later, you've forgotten all about your knee and you're just on to something else.
Yeah, it's about changing the conversation too. And I talk to runners a lot, especially this time of year where it's marathon season. I have runners racing marathons all over the place. And when it gets hard and your knee hurts and your socks are killing your feet, you have to block all those voices out and change the conversation and the alarm bells, turn those off, and focus on the basics. So in a half marathon or a marathon or a 50K, it's forget about your knee and that's, how's my fuel? Did I hydrate? Have I eaten anything? Do I need some sodium? How's my form? Am I standing up straight? Are my shoulders down? Are my feet quick? And before you know it, you're a few miles down the road. And then you do it again and you change the conversation. In an ultra, that's why you have a pacer, because you're not able to think clearly enough to focus on the basics late in the race. You're focusing on not falling down. So you have a pacer there to focus on those. Have you eaten? Have you hydrated? Do you need sodium? Let's get to this next aid station. So they help you change the conversation in your head.
Which is a huge deal. I experienced that a little bit this weekend where you really don't know what you're doing. Like all you know is that there's that one way to go. And I was telling them a story. When I got to the 90-mile aid station, they had started using my drop bag as a garbage bag. And so I go over there and open it. And I was like, oh, God, what's in here? And so all my shit is in there with garbage. And I'm like, I wanted to take my jacket off and put it in there. So I took my nobody. It was just me. I didn't have anybody else there at this time because it was early in the morning. Took my jacket off, put it in the bag, and this guy walked by and I go, "Hey man," they started using my bag as a garbage bag, and he goes, "Well, do you want to keep that stuff?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I want to keep it. I just put my jacket in there. Do you think I want to put my stuff in there? I'm just totally delirious." He's like, "Well, if you want to keep it, you're supposed to put it over there. Didn't you read the sign?" And I was like,
I can't read right
I
now.
was like, man, I don't know. I don't even know where I am. Like here. And I threw my back, but I was just like, if
All
if
I'm
I
saying is quit throwing your crap in my bag.
That's all. It's
right. I mean,
one job.
I'm seriously lucky that I didn't turn back around and run that 4-mile loop again. That I turned around and went the right way. Because you don't. He's right. Like you don't. All you know is this. So if somebody is there to sit you down or pick you up and put something in your mouth, that's huge.
There was a point in time between mile probably 32 and 36, probably 30 and 36, where I found a stride. And I'm a real like, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you. Like, and then when people don't acknowledge me, I'm like, what a and I understand. I see the other side of that now because I had my own little pace at my own little, relatively crappy time, but I was moving forward. It was considered a run. All was good. I was just dieseled down, and I thought if anything breaks what is happening right now, I might never find it again. If I see someone I know, if someone calls my name, if I've got my little thought hole right here and it's shiny and it's good and my life is pretty and I'm moving forward, and if there's anything that snaps me out of that, then I won't find it again. And sure enough, I didn't find it again. So I think that I can see the other side of people who concentrate and come off as what I would consider a-holes during races when they're really just very focused individuals. How did you wind up with St. Jude and doing the training for that?
I started coaching casually probably 15 years ago, just writing plans for people, mostly marathon plans. And then I had a good friend who was in the country music world who was starting a charity running team for the Tug McGraw Foundation. And he needed some help putting together a running team to take charity runners to the New York City Marathon. So I helped him put it together. And he said, now, if we pull this off, we want you to be the coach. I was like, oh, sure. Well, he called me back 6 months later and said, we're going to New York and you're coming. Okay, great. So that kind of formalized the coaching, and it's where Can't Stop Endurance came from, because I needed to have a name, I needed to have a blog, and get insured and all those things, get certified. So Can't Stop Endurance was born out of necessity, working with this charity. And that went along for a few years, and I started coaching individuals on the local basis, and then that expanded where I have individuals different spots around the country. And probably 6 or 7 years ago, I started working locally with the St. Jude Memphis Marathon, doing a course preview at the local running stores. And that turned into, would you lead our training groups, weekly training groups? Started doing that. And then would you go with us to Nashville, because we have 500 heroes running the country music marathon. And it just grew from there into...
And when you say, would you go with us to Nashville, go with them for a race or go with them for 3 months before?
No, go with support the St. Jude Heroes at the Country Music Marathon in Nashville. So go up there, be at the expo as a resource, talk with runners, go to the pasta dinner, give a motivational speech, be at the Heroes Lounge in the morning before the race, and be on the course as a cheerleader. And then that grew into, as they really went to expand the St. Jude Heroes program nationwide, where they've partnered with the rock and roll races across the country. They needed a coach who could reach out to all these thousands of runners who were running around the country. So we put together this program where there's online training tips where they get in the 12 weeks before the race, they get a video training tip from Coach Kevin on Mondays or Fridays. They get training tips. There's training plans on the Heroes website that they can go in and download depending upon their ability. We do some Facebook Live webinar type training seminars. And then I go around and do live training clinics on nutrition, on training for a marathon. And right now I'm doing the heavy circuit of course previews. So they went up to St. Louis and did one there for the people who are coming to Memphis next month to run the St. Jude Memphis Marathon. Went to Cape Girardeau.
What does a course preview entail?
Course preview is, in the early days of the internet, back when all we had was email, people were going to come run the St. Louis Marathon. Well, I just run the St. Louis Marathon. They want to know what it was about. So I'd type up this long email about the St. Louis Marathon, what the course is like. From a runner's viewpoint, what's the course like? What does it feel like? What kind of strategy to use for this course? And kind of got to where I really like doing that. So I started doing that for all the races I ran, which turned into a lot of the material when I first started the Can't Stop Endurance blog, were these course previews. And now it's turned into this, there's a presentation I do that talks about the logistics, pre-race logistics for St. Jude. Where to park, what time to be there, where's the expo, where's the best place to hang out before the race, how do these big corrals work with a 25,000 person race, where should you seed yourself, once the race starts, we talk about the course, and then we lay some strategy over that, where the course gets challenging, where you can push, where the hills are located. And then post-race, how to maneuver through AutoZone Park at the end of the race, best practices for recovery. And so we do that at all the local running stores over these next few weeks. We'll do it at the expo probably 4 times over the 2 days. And I wrote it as a runner, it's the stuff I would want you to know if you were coming to Memphis to run the St. Jude Memphis Marathon. All those tips and tricks and strategy ideas. And then as a coach, what I would want you to know to have your best race, how to approach strategy and pacing and where your head should be at certain points of the race.
Yeah, that was a great idea. That's an awesome deal.
And I really enjoy doing that.
Now, are you affiliated with St. Jude year-round? Pardon my
Yes.
ignorance.
No.
There is St. Jude marathons going on all over the place all the time. Is that accurate?
Well, I'm the national coach for the St. Jude Heroes, so I support anyone who signs up to run as a St. Jude hero at any race in the country. So there's the St. Jude Memphis Marathon coming up in 2 weeks, 25,000 people. It's one of the only races in the world that's put on by the charity that it benefits. So it's a very much a St. Jude, very unique weekend. And then we have, I want to say this year, it was 16 of the rock and roll marathons around the world where we're a preferred, I'm not sure that's the right word, preferred charity. When you go on to register for the race, you can sign up to run as a St. Jude hero, where you fundraise, and then you get these perks of running as a St. Jude hero. We have teams at the Chicago Marathon, New York City Marathon, Boston Marathon, LA Marathon. There's a couple of triathlons that we're associated with. And then you can run any race you want. Next year, you could get a team together for Tunnel Hill and sign up, and it becomes you're a St. Jude hero raising money at Tunnel Hill, and it kind of adds
nice.
that. It just adds that, one of the big hashtags they use is run for a reason. And that's one of the things that running, yes, it takes everybody involved to be on the same page to let me go train those miles and keep your household and your life intact. But then when it comes down to it, it's kind of a selfish endeavor when it's race time. And that St. Jude Heroes program just adds a layer of meaning and accountability and a bit of a pay-it-forward atmosphere to the running. And the St. Jude Memphis Marathon, that one day is their largest one-day fundraiser of the year for the whole organization. They'll raise $10 or $11 million
Wow.
That's
just on the
incredible.
race. It's amazing.
Now, did all this grow, the Coach Kevin and you helping with all these races, did that sort of grow organically, or did you go to them and say, I've got these ideas, here's a pitch, this is what I want to do, or was it just explosive, boom, bam, now what do I do?
That's a good question. That was the Can't Stop Endurance and the Coach Kevin kind of grew organically because I don't really advertise. My runners, they're the best advertisement I've got. Their performance, their results, what they do. The Coach Kevin brand, for lack of a better word, that kind of grew as the exposure through initially the Tug McGraw Foundation with Team McGraw, and then certainly with St. Jude, because St. Jude gave me nationwide exposure to heroes across the country. And then locally, when we have all these clinics, I'll go to a running clinic at one of the local running stores or at the expo. It's just that exposure is that in a way is organic. It has just kind of grown the brand and the Can't Stop brand. But working with ALSAC, which is who I contract with for the St. Jude Heroes at St. Jude, they're open to ideas. They want to, the idea is St. Jude, the mission is a natural, everybody connects with that. So you get somebody who wants to fundraise for St. Jude, it's a heartfelt, real thing. My job is to come in and connect with you as a runner, right? So I was just at the New York City Marathon, working the expo for 3 days, and seeing runners that I haven't seen in 2 or 3 or 6 years. And you see them, and it's like old home week because we're runners and we ran this race together. And just like locally, I see Vaughn at a race. Don't know Vaughn that well, but I sure do know him. And when I see him, I haven't seen him at a race in 2 years, and you see him and high five, and it's like, so that's my job, and my role is to connect with you as a runner and make sure you feel taken care of and guided and accountable and motivated to achieve the running side of the goal with the Heroes program.
Now, does Can't Stop Endurance function independently from St. Jude?
Yes. Can't Stop Endurance is my coaching business. So I coach individuals, and the number fluctuates throughout the year, but people training for 5Ks up through 100-mile ultras. Right now it's heavy marathon season. So I coach those runners one-on-one. They get monthly plans and access and all of those things, kind of that personal touch. And that lives separately from my job as the national coach for the Heroes.
And you've got people all over the place, haven't you?
I've been really fortunate, and runners mostly in the Southeast, but I've had them around the country. But just a couple of weekends ago, I had two runners at New York City Marathon, Indianapolis Marathon, a woman doing her first Ironman at Ironman Florida, and then I had 12 people running the Road Race Series half that day, and whatever local 5K it was. So it's my weekends are exciting because I'm tracking runners and I'm waiting for race reports and I'm checking the internet and I'm out and about doing things and I'm going back and checking, and it's really I know what endurance and running has meant to me, and to be able to take that and give it to somebody else and connect and see them discover parts of themselves that they didn't know existed and achieve goals and sometimes surprise themselves, sometimes astonish themselves is what they're able to do. That's a really if you're looking to say, what's your purpose in life or what's your mission, I really think that's my spot, is to take what I've learned from my own adventures and all those people I've worked with and give that to somebody to let them go set their goals and achieve it. It's just it's pretty cool.
Well, it seems like you're doing a hell of a job because you got some incredible athletes, and the ones that we've talked to, and I know you had a couple of 100-milers this weekend too.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I had a couple of people at Tunnel Hill with you doing the 100-mile, and that's a great story. This was a couple. They're 50. He was in a nearly tragic car accident 3 years ago. We didn't know if he would walk or run again.
Wow.
And they've trained together and worked up together, and I started work with them about 2 years ago. Wanted to do the marathon, they wanted to do a 50K, they wanted to do their first 50-mile, and now just last week did their first 100-mile.
Wow.
Did all the training together, and then step for step finished that 100-mile together. It's like, wow. That's pretty awesome.
That's
is
incredible. Good for them.
Yeah.
You mentioned the personal touch. How often, on average, are you in touch with your clients?
It depends on the client. There are, like in any organization, there are high maintenance clients and low maintenance clients. There are drama prone clients. There are low maintenance. It just depends. No, not casting any aspersions here. The drama.
Present. I've got a question.
Basically, they get unlimited access online, text and email. So I'm conversing with runners every day, maybe not the same ones. And then they get a monthly sit down where we sit down and we go over what happened and what the goals are. And a lot of them will bring questions about fueling or recovery or shoes or whatever that is. And then I like to get a weekly recap from my runners. So there's at least weekly back and forth. And then I get a lot of text messages on, a lot of people do their speed work on Tuesdays and then long runs or races on Saturdays. So I get a lot of text messages on Tuesday because I don't want to wait until you send me your weekly recap to know how your 5 mile tempo run went on Tuesday. Let me know. I want to know because I kind of have to be along for the ride from a running standpoint. I can't really write you what we're doing this week is to get us ready for what we want to do next week. And without knowing what you did, I'm just, in that case, just go download something from runnersworld.com and put it on your refrigerator if you're just going to take a blank form.
Yeah.
So that feedback is vital because I know there's that little piece of your brain where the runner lives, the doubts, the questions, the achievements, and I need to kind of be along for the ride because it's about so much more than just the math, right? And the numbers.
Do you find that there's a skill level or demographic that is most attracted to you?
I would say the majority of the people who seek out professional coaching are over the age of 30. Probably the majority are over the age of 35. It's probably been pretty close to 50-50 male, female. But I think
I didn't know if people, the reason that I asked, I didn't know if people feel like they reach a point where they know everything, where they no longer need a coach.
Well,
and if it's mostly 5K to 10K or if it's after people.
I think it's after they realize that they don't know everything.
Yeah.
And then they put all that I know everything stuff to the side and they go, oh, it's going to be
Absolutely.
better if I hire
Yeah.
Kevin or someone to help me, do what it is I want to do.
Yeah, I get a lot of people at that stage. They've done John Autry. You had him on the show. Perfect example. Started training, ran a pretty good marathon, kept training, ran another, and then he kind of hit a point where that's all he could do, and then he realized, well, I'm going to give a coach a shot, and we're going to see what we can do. A lot of people when they're making their jump to run their first marathon, they want a coach to do it right, or they've done a few marathons and now they want to see if they can PR or they can qualify for Boston, or they want to make that jump to 50K or those type of things. So it's typically when somebody's trying to do something. What they've done has gotten them so far, and now they need to do something different. I do find that women are much more coachable than the men, without a doubt.
I don't have any problems believing that at all.
Not at all. And you see a lot, and we see this, you go to the local races, and you look at the results, and that female 35 to 39 and 40 to 44 and 40, so competitive. Because what you have is typically, women get out of school, they go to work, we all get married, you have kids, then about 35 years old, it's time to, always time to get serious because I can't lose weight like I used to lose weight, and I can't, I'm going to get back in shape. Kids get in school, I've got some time, and they start training, and they discover this inner athlete that they hadn't seen since high school or maybe ever, because my generation, there weren't a lot of girls that played. There was no varsity soccer, there was no varsity lacrosse, it was basketball, softball, and that was about it. So they discover this inner athlete at 35 or 40 and this biomechanical or genetic gift to run, and they become these amazing endurance athletes. And they don't hit their peak until they're 40 or 45 years old. And it's pretty cool to see those competitive lights come on and see how tough they really are.
And they're super dedicated, super compliant, right?
Yep.
Like do everything they're supposed to do.
Well, they're smarter than us.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So
I wish we were
they
that
see the
smart.
value in what we're
Right.
they're skeptical, but once you show them you know what you're doing, you're right. Super focused, super disciplined.
Well, you say that with the a real passion in your eyes. I mean, you light up when you're talking about these people finding their inner athlete and discovering themselves. Is that what you feel like you were put here to do?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I was not the fastest runner. I was a decent runner. I wasn't the best athlete. I wasn't, but I've developed a knack over the years of experience of being able to teach this thing that we do and put it into terms that you can understand for your personality, and you can understand for your personality, and connect on that level. And it feels very natural, and I love doing it, and it comes naturally. When my wife was watching me write some training plans after we got married, and I just pulled up the training plan, and I knew what the goals were, and so I'm just writing the plan on my laptop. It's like, well, where are all your notes? I was like, there are no notes. I know what this runner needs to do, so you just write the next progression from. I know what I wanted to do. I know what we did last month. Here's what we did. Here's where we want to go. So it's a really cool flow and connection, and so yes, I do feel like it's part of my calling.
Over time, how much do you think that you've had to hone your skills from separating yourself between being a coach and being someone's therapist? I'm sure you find athletes that are looking for that, or looking for you to be their scapegoat as much as anything else.
I don't stand for scapegoat, not for 1 second, because I can lead you right up to the water. I can show you how to drink the water and how much to drink, but you got to drink the water. The therapist part is a huge part of it. From my fastest runner to my slowest runner, from the mental side of this is huge, and being able to convince someone that, look, based on the training you've done, this is exactly the runner you are, and this is the race you should go run at this pace for these many miles. And they're skeptical, or they're scared, or but when they go do it, and it lays out exactly the way you told them it was going to lay out, it's like, see, I told you.
You were right.
Trust me, I know this right here, this narrow silo of the world, I know what I'm doing. So believe me and trust me. There's so much in building confidence, building trust, getting people to quiet all the voices in their head, calm their doubts, and just believe in me. That's not it's the hard part is getting them to believe in themselves and trust the numbers, right? The touchy-feely part, yes, but the math doesn't lie. Here's what your machine that we developed is capable of doing. Now go do it. So yeah, it's big part of it is therapeutic.
Well, I've never met a good coach that doesn't know how to nurture on some level, and whether that be tough love or compassion. Mm-hmm. You know, the spreadsheet's not going to get you where you need to go in and of itself. Being able to program a spreadsheet doesn't make a coach in any sense of the word.
No.
And I would imagine that you had to learn some of that, both the easy way and the hard way, as you've evolved as a coach, or has it always come naturally to you?
I think when it started in those early days of just typing up a race report for my friends, that came naturally, because I can still to this day think back to races I ran 20 years ago, and in my mind's eye, I can see that course and where the hills were and where it got hard and what I was thinking in certain places. Like when you hear a song, you can remember where you were when you heard the song. The coaching part, the laying out a training program, figuring out the progressions, what workouts worked, that took practice and lots of on myself, and we're all a test of self. Now I get to come play with your test and figure out what it is. That took years of experience and lots of different athletes, different levels. Everybody doesn't respond the same to this workout, so we have to come up with a different way to achieve the same benefit. So it was in those early years of writing plans. When I would write my plans, yes, the books were out, the thing, okay. But then it got to be much more natural.
What would you say is your biggest success and biggest failure through all this?
As a coach?
As a coach or a runner?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh, there's so many failures. Personally, the 1982 regional track meet, gave up on the last lap of the mile and missed the state meet.
Still bothering you.
Pisses me off to this day.
Really? Wow.
I'd never beaten the top two go to state, never beaten the guys, and nope, stuck in third again.
And you look back on that and remember I gave the
Gave
spot
up.
that you
My
said.
18-year-old self was out at Bartlett High School.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, those things, looking at the things that gnaw at me, and I keep my Leadville number in a very prominent place where I see it every day. That gnaws at me. That a couple of very minor mistakes caused that, and I still only missed it by 5 minutes, but probably gave up 2 hours with those mistakes when you combine those. So those things things that are self-inflicted, right? Things that were in my control and I screwed them up. Those are the things that really chat me. On the coaching level, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Nobody is. And there are some runners where you just can't find that sweet spot. And I probably take that a little too personally, or that I've let them down. It doesn't hurt my feelings when somebody says, yeah, I'm going to go, this isn't right for me. I always think, well, gosh, what didn't I do? Because, your ego wants to say, well, I'm everybody's coach. Everybody. But you're not. And so that can be frustrating when you can't figure out, well, why didn't I connect with that person?
What do you think is your strongest habit? If there was one thing that somebody was going to come to you and say, I need to know everything that you can teach me, but I can only afford to know one thing and I need it for free, what would you tell them it was?
Oh, God. Just one?
Yep. Something that you do every day.
Oh, I was going to be more general.
Or go ahead with that.
Consistency is the king. If something's better than nothing, it's those gaps, stopping, starting over, in whatever, nutrition, foam rolling, weight room, long run, whatever it is.
Okay, we're over 5 right now.
Stay
Yeah,
consistent.
that's everything. I'm sitting here. Yep.
Because there's so much to be achieved by just being consistent. When I get a new runner and I don't have all their history, we're not going to do speed work or anything like that for a while, because I've got to prove consistency and durability first. And once we can run, whether it's 6 weeks or 12 weeks or however many weeks, just can you check off the boxes and get these runs done? Then we're ready to move to the next phase. And if more runners would just stay consistent. Once we get through St. Jude Memphis Marathon weekend in 2 weeks, don't quit for 3 weeks or 3 months or 8 months. Get back out and hang on to that consistency. There's so much to be gained just from that without doing any of the special workouts or anything else special.
Do you think there's something to be said for checking off those boxes, even if those boxes are not difficult boxes to check, but teaching somebody, let's see what it feels like to check the boxes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like what the Marines teach you to make your bed every morning just so you get up and get a task done right away.
Yeah.
It's that kind of mentality of, there are a lot of times you're not motivated, you're tired, you're whatever, life, kids, work, whatever, kitchen remodeling, whatever it is. Sometimes you're just going to have to fake it and go through the motions.
Yep.
And get out the door and check the box. Because if you don't, it compounds all of that. Because then you come home and you didn't do your run or your workout and you feel even worse. I've got this going on and this going on, and I skipped my workout. Whereas if I got this and this, but by God, I got that. I only had time to run 2 miles, but I got that 2 miles done. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of times when I get in a funk, I'll just be like, you don't even have to work out. Just go to the gym. Just be there at 6 and just go there.
Because something will happen.
Something will happen.
Yeah.
Or just go walk a mile. Go put your shoes on and go out and walk a mile. That's all you got to do. You don't even have to run. Just go out there. And what happens is you get out there and you're like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad.
Yeah.
So sometimes I use that on myself to, get out of that
Get you going.
little funk.
One thing I preach a lot, and to myself and to other people, is that motivation is crap. the poster on the wall with the saying, and I post those things for motivation. Motivation means nothing without discipline. If you're not disciplined to get up in the morning and get the things done and get to the gym and discipline is king in life, but we're only talking about endurance sports right now. Just discipline. Because the motivation is not going to be there every day, but the discipline can, right? Fake it, go through the motions, get up, get it done until the motivation comes. When the motivation comes back, then it gets fun again. But yeah,
Check the box.
check
I like
the box.
that. And when I go to the gym, I'm about 100% at being incorrect at how I'm going to feel. So usually I know if I can get there, most of the time if I go there and I say I'm going to kill it, I got a lot of energy, I feel good, like today's going to be a good day. I don't know if I wear myself out with the excitement, but I get there and I just fall on my face. But if on the same token, when I go there and I'm like, I just need to go see some people. I need to go say hello and shoot the breeze and probably not do any of it. And then those are when I have some of my best days.
Yep.
I just never know when I'm gonna feel good or when I'm gonna feel bad. So it's just better for me to, like you said, just get there and let everything else take care of itself.
Absolutely.
That's great advice. Anybody got any other questions?
So if somebody wanted to contact you for running advice or coaching, how would they reach you?
They can reach me through can'tstopendurance.com. I'm on Facebook at Can't Stop Endurance. I'm on Twitter and on Instagram at Kevin Leathers. So pretty easy to find.
All right.
You've made it in life when you have a name as common as Kevin, and everybody in town knows
Coach Kevin.
who Coach Kevin is.
Yeah.
And if you've ever ran near him during a race, it's got to be annoying at some point where it's like, hey, Coach Kevin, Coach Kevin, Coach Kevin, Coach Kevin. Especially if you're trying to
That's
run
pretty
along.
cool, I will say.
Do you like that?
That's pretty cool. They could call. I know there's people who call me different things, and it could be a lot worse. But yeah, in my thing, being a runner in the running world, and to be a part of the running community is, I can't argue.
Such a big running
That's
community,
pretty cool.
too. Yeah.
And sometimes it gets old, but the only time it gets old is when I'm hurting. But God, the level of accountability that brings.
Oh, I'm
I can
sure.
imagine.
Oh, my
I bet.
goodness.
Yeah,
Wow.
you can't afford to have a crappy race.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, monetarily, literally, like you probably can't afford to have too many crappy races back to back.
Got to make the most of it. Got to put on a happy face sometimes.
Well, it's been a real pleasure.
Oh, pleasure's been mine. This
Yeah,
has been
thanks
great.
a lot.
Thank
Kevin.
you for
I
coming
really
on.
appreciate
We
you
could do this
coming.
for a couple more hours. We
Absolutely.
Can go all,
I told you.
all
I told
night.
you it's all I could take to cut it off at an hour.
We'll
Or else
bring
I'll
you back.
just keep
Sure.
going.
Yeah, I'd love to anytime.
Yeah, if you ever got anything going on and you would like to come back and put it out there and talk about it, then
Great.
we'd love to have you.
Sounds great.
Thank you so much. LHRL number 74 is in the books.